Hi, my name is Sarah Jerem and you're watching Artistic Digs. This series shines a spotlight on musical contemporaries who inspire me to talk with them and learn more about their creative space. I am thrilled to introduce my special guest for today, my good friend, drummer and composer, Ernesto Cervini. Hey!
Hello!
Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
So I'm just going to do a brief introduction. Juno Award winner Ernesto Cervini is a sought-after drummer, composer, and bandleader, and an influential presence on Canada's modern jazz scene and beyond. He has documented his vision with the Ernesto Cervini Quartet, featuring Joel Fromm, the innovative sextet Turboprop, numerous co-led trio projects, including Mem3, Myriad 3, and Toontown, and also the quartet Tetrahedron, featuring acclaimed guitarist Near Felder, electric bassist Rich Brown, and also alto saxophonist Luis Denise. In addition to his performing career, he founded Orange Grove Publicity in 2014 and has quickly become one of the most sought-after jazz publicists in Canada. Cervini is on faculty at the University of Toronto and Humber College. So, thanks again.
That's
welcome. Yay.
Thank you.
Only a couple stumbles. So, how have you been doing?
Yeah, it's okay. The last couple of weeks have been a bit of a struggle. I feel like it's getting a little harder. Just with the kids, my son's at home learning, and my wife's teaching from home, and so there's a lot of the three of us in the house constantly. And and I think it's just the lack of being able to create and perform, and it's getting old. Yeah. And I felt like at the beginning of the of this whole thing, my wife and I really tackled it, and we really handled it quite well. Actually, I remember hearing that lots of people were struggling, and I was like, man, we're actually killing it. We were in a good place, and mentally and physically, we were just doing really well. And it's hard to keep that up. So I think we're struggling now. But I mean, we're going to be fine. We're both healthy. Everyone's healthy. And, my wife's got the first vaccine, and I'm going to get the first one this week. So, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's, what do they always say? It's darkest before dawn. So, right. So I think I'm there. Personally, that's where I am. But that's okay. It's there's nothing to complain about. So.
But that's so valid, and it's interesting that you're saying that, because Rob and I have been feeling the same. Same, last year at this time was a very different headspace than this year. It feels like that we're tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
tired and there's just nothing to there's so many things that you can't do, and especially as creative people, I've done a lot during this shutdown, but it still doesn't feel I don't know, I still feel like I'm kind of spinning my wheels, because I wrote a whole bunch of music that I've never been able to hear. Mm-hmm. And so it's I don't really feel like writing a whole bunch more, because I want to hear the stuff I wrote, Exactly. And so it's just, it can be hard to keep moving forward. But little things here and there help. And I know I've never or maybe not never, but I've been practicing more during this than I have in a really long time, which is awesome. Because I need it. I need some connection to my instrument. So that's been really great. And again, I've heard of people saying, "Oh, I just have no motivation to even sit down at my instrument." And I feel lucky. For me, it kind of came at a time in my life where I was getting back to practicing, because both my kids when school is open, both of my kids are in school now. So I finally got to the point where I had the house to myself again, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to get back, and really get back and focus on practicing and growing on the instrument. And then, and then this happened. Oh wait, maybe I won't do that yet. Okay, cool. But anyways, it is what it is, and we're all making it through. And then hopefully, in in 5 years we can all go, oh man, remember how much that sucked? Anyways,
Yeah, exactly.
let's go play another set of music.
Yeah,
So.
that. Oh my god, I'm like tearing up just thinking about that. Yeah, I know. So, you have been really busy though during the pandemic. Like you have come out with a new album, two new albums. Let's talk about it.
Well, yeah, one of them came out. The Tetrahedron album came out a week before the shutdown. So we did our CD release gigs. We played 2 nights at the Rex and then a night at the Jazz Room, and then a week later everything shut down. So we were lucky because it could, because that would have sucked it to lose those gigs. And I know there's tons of people who did, and we all saw our calendars disintegrate. You had all these. I had a couple tours that had to be canceled, which was a huge drag. It was. Again, it's for everyone. It's devastating. But so one album did come out right before, and then Toontown released an album about a month and a half ago now, maybe. I don't really know what month we're in anymore, so it's all pretty vague. But I think it was mid-March it came out. And that was super exciting. So now that one had been in the can for a while. We recorded that. That's the one. There it is. Entering Utopia. We recorded that at the same time as we recorded our first album. So we actually had both albums done and ready to go. And so it was just a matter of spacing them out so that we could give them both, the right amount of focus. And
that's so serendipitous.
yeah. So that's why I was able to release an album. You did too. We released our albums a week apart. So, but luckily it was just lucky that it was like everything was kind of done already, and so it's just a matter of like, okay, well, are we still going to do this in the pandemic? And short of not being able to do a CD release show or not being able to do any touring, so however many CDs we printed, we still have that many. We haven't sold any. But beyond that, in terms of releasing an album, it was fine. It's still got lots of coverage, and people are still listening to it on streaming services and stuff. So it didn't seem to be too detrimental to the whole thing, to the whole process. But creatively, it's hard because, like, here we are celebrating this music and we haven't played together in over a year. And we're like doing these Facebook live streams and talking about how much we love playing together. And like, I haven't seen Artie in a year I've seen Kelly a little bit, but I haven't seen Artie since this happened. So like, I haven't seen him since March. So it's all a little funny, but
so weird.
But again, I'm not telling you anything you haven't also been going through.
Well, it's nice to. It's not nice to, but
Yeah.
Hearing it.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I was talking to some other musicians, just a couple nights ago, and we were all saying how the past 3 weeks somehow have just been brutal. Yeah. It's just like hitting this wall. Where, and part of it in Ontario with everything getting locked down again and again, it just, everything looks so bleak. Now things are getting better. The numbers are coming down, vaccines are going up. And so, but it's just, it's been tough, thank God it's getting nice outside. At least we have that.
It snowed. Oh my God.
I know. It's like, okay, I guess.
On par.
Yeah. We're like, it's okay. We can deal with this. We're dealing with everything else. It's a little snow. We're just like, put the kids in their snow pants and send them out. This is what we're doing now. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's been, but, and also like the incredibly difficult task of trying to get a vaccine right now, with the vaccine rollout plan being so chaotic, to say the least. But we're just plugging away. That's all we can do, and keep making music in the meantime.
Yeah, keep making music, exactly, and try to I mean, that's why for me, I've made practicing the drums I've never been a great practicer. I'll tell you this, honestly. It's never come very easily to me. I feel like it does to some people. For me, it never did. It was always one of those things where if in a given day, if I was going to run out of time, practicing is the first thing that would be put on the shelf. Like, I'll just do it tomorrow. But because, I mean, honestly, unless you have something you're practicing for, like I have to learn this music for this gig, I have to do this. It's easy to put off because you can just do it tomorrow. You just do it every day. It's just, but again, because I lost that, I'm not gigging, I'm not playing the drums, I'm not playing music, never mind just the drums, but I'm just not creating music. So if I don't have that, I don't have anything. So that's helped to make it much more of a priority. And I've found some ways to keep it really fun and exciting, and I'm learning new stuff, and it's been cool, actually. It's been really neat.
Yeah, you've been posting your practice logs, sort of, so to speak, on Instagram and social media, and also some transcriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is super cool.
I started doing those right at before everything shut down, because I was learning. I had my Humber students where they have to, for their juries, they have to learn transcriptions. They're given a list of transcriptions, and they have to pick one major one or two smaller ones and play it on their jury. And they don't have to do the transcription. They get the transcription given to them, but they have to learn it. And so in the process of trying to teach my students these transcriptions, I can't teach them if I can't play them, because I have no idea. Like, I don't know. They'd be like, what's the good sticking here? I'm like, I don't know. I have to learn it. So,
wow.
So I started learning all these transcriptions that my students were doing. Thankfully, two of them picked the same one. So I had to learn 2 transcriptions for my 3 students, and because they're really hard, really hard. And so I practiced them, and I got them together. And then I was like, well, you know what? I may as well just make a video of this. And then that just kind of started it. And I did a couple, and I've kind of been learning a transcription since that happened. Like, there's always one on the go that I'm learning, and I've gone through and learned some of the ones that right now I'm practicing a solo by Jorge Rossi on Brad Meldau, Art of the Trio Volume 4. And it was a solo that I actually learned. It's he does All the Things You Are in 7, and then Jorge takes the solo over this vamp part. And I had originally done it as an assignment when I was doing my master's degree, and I had learned the solo. I did it pretty well, whatever. I was a student. I don't think I did an amazing job of it, but I learned it. And so I've always wanted to relearn it and really nail it. And so this is just, now I'm like, okay, well that's what's next. So I'm in the middle of learning that. And it's been cool. It's been good. And I've been learning these book of drum etudes that I've always wanted to learn the whole book. And it was one of those, like, when you have those things, you're like, at some point in my life, I want to do that. And then eventually you just have to do it. Like, because if you keep saying that, you'll never do it. So this was a good opportunity for that. So I just started at the beginning of the book, and I'm recording every etude in the book. Wow. And it's cool. I thought it would be a good resource too, because I had a student that came for a lesson, and they wanted to learn one of the etudes, but they were like, I need to see a video of it because I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. And we were looking, and there weren't that many good videos. So I thought, well, this will be a great resource for people trying to learn these solos, that they can just check it out and hear how I play it. Not that I'm an expert, but it's, I'm doing it. So
oh, that's awesome. What a great resource. Is that on your YouTube channel or anything, or? Yeah.
It's all on my YouTube channel. So, and I made playlists. So I have one that's called Wilcoxon etudes, and then they're just in order, in the book order. And I've posted, I think, about half of them now. I'm about halfway through. Each one takes, some of them take 2 or 3 weeks to learn. Most of them take 2 or 3 weeks to learn. Some of them a little longer. And then I made another playlist with all the transcriptions that I've done.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah. Sorry. So that's been really cool. And it's been fun to just have something, again, to keep me kind of inspired and to keep there being something to be working towards.
Yeah. Right?
Because without, like, again, that's what gigs give us too, is you have a chance to like learn some music for a show or something. And so this is, I need to learn this transcription because I want to get it posted, and then learn another one. And then learn another one, and then learn, so.
Totally. Yeah. I'm pretty deadline driven too. Deadline motivated. Yeah. So if like I have a lesson coming up with a teacher, like I'm going to practice, or I'm going to work on whatever. And, it's so helpful to have those landmarks, and you've created a beautiful framework for yourself to, that's like a awesome survival guide.
Yeah, it's been really important for me. And I mean, as you go through this, as you go through life, and I find that I'm constantly learning more about how I learn and how I perform, not necessarily perform, but like how I, just manage through things and get things accomplished. And I'm definitely deadline driven, and I'm also like output driven. So it just to get things, I have to get that done and then move on to the next thing. And so again, it helps me having like kind of a vague, like, I think that's why I found hard about practicing drums was it was very like open-ended. There was no end point. It was like, well, what am I going to practice today? Well, I want to get better. Okay. What does that mean? And then you practice and you're like, well, am I better? I don't think I got any, and so this just gives just creates goals and so that I can check it off and be like, yes, I did that. I couldn't do that before. I can do that now. Am I actually better? I don't know. I mean, how can you quantify that? But I figure if I'm playing the drums every day, I can't get worse. So, I tell my students when I have this warm-up exercise that I give to all my students, and I tell them all, it's just like brushing your teeth. Like, you're not trying to get better at brushing your teeth. You just do it, and then you move on to the next part of your life. And if you don't do it, your teeth are going to fall out. Your dentist is going to yell at you, all that bad stuff. But if you do it, you don't have to improve at it. Just do it. And so I have this warm-up exercise, and it's like, it's not about getting better. It's just about doing it every day. It will get better because that's how it works. But you don't have to try to get better. You just go through the motions, and then you can check it off. You're like, yay, I did it.
Yeah. Nice. Wow. Yeah. That's so, yes. Very powerful and inspiring, motivated words. You should be like a motivational speaker for practicing. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
So, have you been doing any live streams or anything like that?
I actually did is it my first one? I mean, I've done some like pre-recorded things where everyone records their part and then you put it together. We did some turboprop videos like that, which was really fun. And the Carn Davidson 9 did 1 or 2, 3 songs or something right towards the beginning. Like this was in May of last year or something. did my first live stream on SyncSpace, which was really interesting. That was on Saturday night, and it was a lot of fun because it was with Adrian on piano, Adrian Ferrugia, Kelly Jefferson, and Dan Fortin, the Hamilton crew, me and the Hamilton crew. So that was awesome. And they're like, three of my favorite humans and musicians. So it was really nice to play with them. But it was also really challenging because my internet just wasn't good enough to make it work super well. So there was a very, very strong lag that was happening. So I had to kind of purposefully play almost a 16th note ahead of them to make it work. Yeah, so it was kind of like mind-blowing. It was. But it was still cool because we were still making music together, and I still got to, I miss those guys so much. Like as people too, they're really close friends, but then also just, like hearing Kelly play and hearing all three of them play, and then because I have such a close personal relationship with all three of them that it was just really special. And I came away from it feeling very nurtured and wanting more. And be like, okay, that was cool. Now I'd like to do it for real.
Yeah.
But
cool.
But it's amazing that exists. I think it's awesome that the founder is a guy named Adrian Cho, who's in Ottawa, and he put it together, and it's a really cool space and software. So it's great that people are using this to try and create new ways that we can all be together. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still just want to go to the Rex and play with my friends.
Yeah.
but we'll get there. Yeah. I know everyone's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep. It'll be even more delicious when.
Yes. Precise.
But I feel you. But yeah, isn't that great? Like technology and being able to do that. Like that's like incredible that we can do that. Even if it's not perfect, even if there's flaws, we can do this. Yeah. I can't imagine the pandemic without this.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely. I know.
Probably be very unemployed.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're lucky that all this stuff exists and that people are seeing this as an opportunity to create more ways that we can connect. And I feel like Zoom, I remember hearing commercials for Zoom just like 3 or 4 months before the pandemic hit, and they were advertising a lot. And I just remember like, oh yeah, this is for like businesses and stuff. Like, I don't need this. It's not for me. I just have FaceTime. It's cool. And then now I'm teaching all my students on Zoom and sending out these, and I have a whole setup. I had to figure out how to like mic a drum set. And so, yeah, learning some new things. And, I mean, even with the turboprop videos that I put together, I had to learn how to use GarageBand. I'd never used GarageBand before. So I mixed everything myself. Then I had to learn how to use Final Cut Pro so that I could put the video together. And so it's kind of cool because I didn't know how to do those things. And maybe I would have learned, but probably not. I would have just got someone else to do it that already knew how to do it. But, this was like, okay, this is a good opportunity to kind of get some new skills. So now I'm good at making these videos because I had to sit there and figure out how to do it. Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. So it's been good. And I've put together, I've been doing some recording with this vibes player in Toronto named Dan McCarthy. Oh, yeah. Dan used to live in New York. Well, he's from here. He's from Etobicoke, but then he moved to New York and lived there for like 10 years. And we played a fair amount when I was living there, and we were pretty good buddies. And then I moved back here, so we didn't really lose touch, but we didn't play together anymore. And then he like quit music and opened a CrossFit gym. It was like this hugely successful CrossFit gym, and then he decided to sell his portion of the gym and come back to Toronto and get a master's. So he went to York, he got his master's, and now he's here. So it's kind of crazy. So I've been recording a fair amount with him, and then Dan Loomis, who is the bass player in Turboprop in my quartet, who is in Brooklyn. And so we've been putting together these videos, but then also just audio recordings of tunes where we like take turns and then we put it together. And it's fun, but it still partially just makes me want to play with people for real.
But it's something, and it's a new way to kind of, I feel like I haven't done as much remote recording as you have, but it has definitely made me work on like my studio chops and,
right.
You know, and just thinking about presenting music in a new way, and
right.
You know, it is a learning experience, and whatever it ends up giving us in the long term won't be nothing. You know,
right. No, exactly. We're all going to come out of this with new skills, whatever those are, and it's just different from what we would have otherwise been doing.
Yeah,
you know, but we're still growing. That's all.
Yeah. I was saying to Joe Lipinski the other day, I was like, this just because I'm doing like asking him about like what microphone should I buy for such and such, and I was like, I'm not replacing you ever. I will, continue to always hire someone who knows what they're doing.
Right, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
But
as musicians, especially now, having these other skills it's invaluable. You know, the more you can kind of do, because just being a performing musician kind of isn't enough anymore. Like it's hard to make a living just as a performer. So I say this to my university students all the time. I'm like, just pay attention to what other skills you might have or what other things you enjoy doing. And if an opportunity comes along where you can grow that skill, it might be smart to just do that, so that then if you're, when you're trying to make a living as a musician, especially when you're starting out, you have something else to fall back on. Like many of us, it's teaching. And I mean, I know for me, I've been teaching a ton since I was a student at U of T. Actually, I was teaching at my mom's school already, so I've never stopped teaching a lot. That's always been a part of. Now, luckily I enjoy it. So, so it's not like, oh, I got to teach because I just got to pay the bills. But I think, the publicity thing was something that kind of came out of the blue. I didn't really, that was never part of my plan. I never had any intention on doing that. It just kind of happened. And then, once I got it started and I started doing it, it was like, okay, well, I guess this is a thing. I mean, it's kind of working and people seem to be happy, and I like doing it. So I guess this is now a new thing that I do. And it's been great because that's really helped through this pandemic. It's been a very helpful way for me to be able to kind of stay afloat.
Absolutely.
The more skills we all have, and I mean, all these kids who are in university and college right now, we're all learning how to record because they have to record everything. So they all, like all my drum students have like studio chops now, and they're talking to me about mic placements and this and that. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm used to just going to a studio and they do everything, and then I sit down and play. I never have to. So now, I mean, you pay attention, so I kind of knew how to mic up a drum set, but not really. But now everyone all my students know. They all know what to do because they had to submit, they have to submit their juries in video form. We're doing all our lessons over Zoom. It's a whole new crazy thing.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Lots of new skills. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And you also started a new record label, did you not?
Yeah. Yeah. That actually was interesting because, so I started a record label, Three Pines Records, that Sarah knows very well because her album came out on Three Pines as well as Toontowns. And it kind of came, that was another one that just kind of happened. I was talking to Oded, who is my brother-in-law, my sister Amy Cervini, who lives in New York, and her husband Oded Leverie. It's the three of us who started Three Pines. And I went to him and I said, well, we have this new Toontown album coming out and I want to release it. It'd be great to work with a label. And so I was asking him about Anzik Records that he runs with Anat Cohen. And that's the label that a bunch of my stuff has come, all the Turboprop albums came out on that, a couple of my quartet albums. And it's kind of like a family label now. It's like Amy's stuff, my stuff, Anat's stuff. Avishai was on there for a while, but now he's on ECM, so it's a big shot. So, but and so I was kind of pitching Toontown to him for Anzik, and then he said, "Well, how about if we just start a Canadian label?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I have some time. Why don't we start a label?" And then the more we talked about it, it was a really cool idea because we can pool like my background of publicity and Amy's background of artist management and then his background of running a label and kind of put all that together into this new platform. And the idea is that it's run in a way where I think it's all focused on the artist. And so, the days of like labels giving you an advance and you get 20 grand to go make like that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore. I don't even think Blue Note does that kind of stuff anymore. It's like on the artist to, maybe they do. I don't know. I clearly have never put out an album on Blue Note, but so the idea was just doing something where we really focus on the artist's career and like help them get it together and get their focus and get, figure out all these different things that they can do to help augment their career and help get in touch with audiences. And so it's been really fun. I mean, it's been a really interesting challenge, and it's been great to work with my sister and my brother-in-law because I love them and I miss them so much. And so it's good to have an excuse to like have an hour chat with them once a week, like chat business. So I can close my office door and say, "You can't bug me, I'm in a meeting." And then I just get to hang out with my sister. So that's nice. So we've put out 3 albums and we have a couple more things lined up, and we're really trying to focus on making it a Canada label. So not Ontario-centric, not Toronto-centric, but really focus on bringing together musicians from across Canada as much as we can. And we've been in touch with people from across the country. And so we're excited to kind of see what we can do with it and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, no,
yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. It is a brand new thing for me. Like I, again, didn't really see this as something that was going to happen. So it's, we're all feeling our way through it. And I mean, you got in on the ground floor. You're going to be one of the originals now forever. And which is cool. 'Cause it's like, I always remember, the Griffith Hiltz Trio, were my first Orange Grove client. And I always remember that it was like they were the ones that made me start Orange Grove because I told them that I should be doing, it was one of those things. We're at a bar probably, and I was like, I could do it better than anyone who's doing it right. I should just do it myself. And so then they hired me. I was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, I was joking. So then it kind of just pushed me. And so this is kind of the same thing where it just came out of this like, well, why don't we try creating this thing? And then now it's like, okay, we're doing it. We did it. And it's been really fun so far. So
It has been really fun. I will say it's been a super fun experience, a really big learning experience for me, and positive, like 100% all the way. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to see where things go.
Yeah. I think the idea again is just to make us all, as aware of all the things you can do with your music to help get it out there. And sometimes it's not like I've worked with that many labels, and they all have kind of their own way of doing things. Like we worked with Myriad 3, we worked with Alma Records, and they were really hands-on. And Peter Cardinelli, who runs the label, was also our producer, and he was really involved with the music and with the recording process and everything. And then when I worked with Anzik, Oded and I had a kind of a little bit of a different relationship. I mean, he's my brother-in-law, so he was a little bit different, but at the same time, like, he just let me do my thing. I just did my thing, and then I'd send him the mixes and be like, so this is my new album. What do you think? Can we release it? And then it was like, so that he wasn't very hands-on with it through Anzik. And then, so our idea is kind of to be somewhere in the middle where we're happy to be as hands-on as people want. Because Odette he's a really great producer as well. He has a really great ear for music and for mixing and mastering and all that stuff. So we're happy to get in there on any level or not, or just to be there to, set it up and put it in the pipeline and then get out of your way. So, however much people want us to be involved, we're happy to do that. So far it's all been a little bit different, and it's all been a little bit of a learning process. So it's been cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And our albums were pre-recorded, before the pandemic. So
right.
That was, very different as well. So
yeah, and it's a weird time to start a label because no one's recording right now. so like we were talking about it, we're like, we kind of wanted to have some more people lined up, and I was like, yeah, but no one, like, we're getting to the point now where if you had pre-recorded something, you've released it by now. And if you hadn't pre-recorded something, then how did you record? Like, it's hard. I feel like right now it's hard because unless, I know studios were kind of open the whole time, or for most of the time, but I don't know. I haven't been in, I haven't been in a studio in a long time. I did record a Christmas album when was that? I have no idea. It was nowhere around Christmas, but was it in June, maybe? June or July?
Summer.
Yeah. With Adrian and Dan Fortan, for this music company that basically sells them to commercials and stuff, like a music house. So we just recorded like 12, like, okay, we're gonna play Good King Wenceslas, and it's gonna be New Orleans vibe. We're like, okay, dig it, It was kind of strange, but Adrian did great. Again, it was just so great to play. I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever. I'll do anything. Christmas album? Yep, I'm in. Let's do it. whatever it is, I'm down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, let's go into the early years.
Okay.
Okay. So, what got you into music in the first place?
I have two older sisters, Amy, who I mentioned already, and I have another sister named Marisa. And so growing up, going like right back to the beginning, we were like, it was a very musical house. They both played, all three of us played piano from a really young age, and I would always hear them practicing. And we were forced, frankly, to practice, as all children are. They're very, I can say as a parent, making my son practice is one of the hardest parts of the day. And, but that's okay, because it's cool. But, and I don't know if you can hear it, but he's actually doing his piano lesson right above me right now. So is it coming through at all?
It's really cute.
Yeah. So he's doing his piano lesson right now. But yeah, so I heard them playing, and I grew up, my mom runs a music school in Etobicoke, so we kind of grew up there a lot of the time. So I started playing piano when I was probably 4 or 5, and then I started playing drums. I kind of forget now. I feel like maybe I started playing drums when I was 10, and then clarinet shortly after that. And so I played all three all throughout grade school and high school. And I studied very seriously. I did classical piano all the way up to ARCT, and then I did classical clarinet all the way up to ARCT. And all the while, I knew that I wanted to be a jazz drummer. But I loved these other things, but I still knew like that jazz drums was kind of where my passion was. And I knew that from an early age. Like, I feel like when I started high school, I already knew I wanted to be a jazz drummer. So it was just like, high school was just another 4 years that I had to like try and get through as fast as I could so I could go to university and study what I wanted to study. And I think part of that, I grew up playing in the Toronto All-Star Big Band, but back when I was a kid, it was called the Etobicoke Youth Orchestra, and we were playing like these easy stage band charts. But I started playing drums in a big band when I was probably 11 or 12. I was really young, and that was my first experience of like playing music with people, and it was awesome. So I knew really early that I wanted to do it, and the jazz thing kind of, I got bit by the jazz bug, partially because Amy was playing saxophone. Amy also, she actually did her undergrad on jazz sax and then switched over to vocal halfway through. Oh. So she was an alto player. And so I would hear her playing all this awesome stuff on the saxophone. I was like, I want to play that. Classical music's it's fine, but I want to play that. That sounds cool, yeah. And nowadays, like the RCM rep for piano is actually much hipper. They have much cooler stuff in there now. But when we were kids, it was pretty classical and only classical, yeah. And so there wasn't that many kind of fun jazzy things that you could do. But on drums, I got to play jazz, and it was fun. So I knew right away that I wanted to do it. And so then it was just a matter of like kind of following it. And yeah.
So who was the first drummer? Do you remember like when you first heard drums, or who was playing that kind of, or?
I'm just trying to think. I actually found, when I was young, I was really into Tony Williams. That was probably the first jazz drummer that I really liked, was Tony Williams. Just because he played so fast and was so awesome. And I think because he was so young when he did it. So as a 15-year-old, knowing that this guy was playing with Miles Davis when he was 18, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I could do that. Miles wasn't alive, but it was something that was like, I don't know. I found that super inspiring. But I feel like when I was younger, there were more jazz piano players that I really fell in love with. Like I fell in love with Bill Evans, and I fell in love with Oscar Peterson when I was in high school. Both of those were like, and I still am. Absolutely. And so I just kind of, and I think I was also really inspired by the older musicians around me. Like, when I was in the big band, there was this piano player named Mike Manny who now lives in Ottawa, but he lived in Etobicoke. He went to Etobicoke School of the Arts with my sister Amy, and he was running the big band, and he's a really great jazz piano player. And I just he was like a big brother to me for a long time. So I just had this guy who is, how much older than me? Amy's 5 years older than me, so he was probably 8 or 10 years older than me. But like when you're 12, that's a big deal, right? Like, yeah. and he was into all this cool music, and he just, I don't know, he was just a real huge influence on my life growing up. And he was like, he loved jazz, so I loved jazz, and then he was my first jazz piano teacher. So I studied with him, and he taught me how to play, drop two voicings and all this stuff. And then, but I also had I had really great teachers growing up. I studied with Barry Romberg, was my first like jazz drum teacher. I don't know exactly how long I studied with him, probably 3 or 4 years from like when I was, or maybe from when I was like 12 to when I was 15. Mm-hmm. And then I studied with Barry Elms after that, who was fantastic. And I studied with him from like, probably 15 or 16 until the end of my second year at U of T. And so that was a long time. And those two guys, the two Barrys, were like huge in kind of my, development. I remember Romberg used to do these transcriptions where he'd listen to like Maria Schneider charts and just write out what the drum part would look like. And so like he would just transcribe the drum parts and then give them to me. And so I was like playing along with Maria Schneider tracks when I was like 14. Oh my God. And I didn't know, I just was like, man, this is so cool. I was playing these wicked charts. And so it was really great. They were both really great teachers. And I spent a long time studying with Mark Eisenman as well, jazz piano lessons. I used to be at his house at like 9 a.m. every Sunday. And he'd come down, open the door in his bathrobe, and be like, yeah, I'll be down in a sec. And I'd go to the piano, and then he'd just go upstairs and get dressed. And I'm pretty sure I woke him up every week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Like, both of you, and like 9 a.m. on a Sunday for a jazz musician, but also 9 a.m. for a teenager to be taking... Or how old were you at that point? I don't know. But
when I studied with him, I was probably 15 or 16. Yeah. So it was great. I mean, my parents were really committed to it, and they really pushed us, all three of us. Amy did her ARCT on piano, and she did her grade 10 classical saxophone. Marisa did her ARCT in flute, and then did her grade 10 piano. So like we were all deep in. And Marisa teaches, she's a band teacher in the Toronto public school system, and then Amy's a singer in New York. So it's like, we all kind of did it. We all followed it. And Marisa did her performance degree in classical flute at U of T, and then went to Teachers College. So it was like, we all ended up going into music, and we still do it. So it's pretty cool. It was pretty neat. But it was also hard. Like I had to practice 4.5 hours every day from, I don't remember when I started practicing that long, probably when I was 12 or 13, up until when I went to university. 4.5 hours. We used to get up and practice before school. So we'd get up at 6, practice until 8, and then go to school. And then we only had 2.5 hours to do when we got home after school. Which was nuts.
Amazing, though. That is so amazing. That makes me think of, Christian McBride was talking about that on another podcast, Katie Thoreau's The Hump. She had Christian McBride on her second episode. He was just saying, like, you practice in high school as much as you possibly can, because those are the years when you actually have the time to do it.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I will say the other point to that is a lot of the time that I was forced to practice, it was completely wasted, because I was like sitting at the piano with like an Archie comic playing like, playing like the right hand part of whatever Bach fugue I was learning. And then just, or I'd like have the sports section on the thing. Like so much of that time wasn't actually practicing because it was just too much. Like I couldn't focus. And to be honest, I don't think I ever learned how to practice when I was young.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about that more recently, like about focused practicing and just, concentrated 1 hour, like turn off your phone and Yeah, I mean, nowadays I practice for an hour. That's all I do. Partially because I don't have much more than that. I mean, right now I really don't. Because everyone's home. So it's like Jenny has a 1 hour break in her teaching. So that's when I run down to the drums and I play for an hour, and then she has to go back to teach. So I have to go back to parent but I also feel like if I can really focus for an hour, that's fine. That's all I need. I don't get burned out. I never feel burnt out at the end of my practice. I always feel invigorated and like great at the end. And I feel like that's
good, because that's going to keep you coming back. And I remember practicing at other times where, I'd be practicing, and then I'd look at my watch and be like, oh, it's only been 20 minutes. Oh, Jesus. And it was just like, even though I was just doing it for me, it still felt like I was kind of being forced to do it. And like, it was like pulling teeth. I really didn't enjoy it. Whereas now the hour goes by super fast. And listen, it's not always great. And there's definitely days where I'm sitting at the drums, like doing this on my phone. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This is I only have an hour. Why am I doing this? Like, I could do this the rest of the day. Put the phone down, focus. But yeah, so I think, I definitely think there is some benefit to both. And I know when I talk to my students about practicing, I had one student who was telling me about his practice routine. It was like an hour and 40 minutes of it sounded like the most boring stuff. And I was like, do you enjoy doing that though? Like, that sounds brutal. He was like, no, it's okay. And I thought, okay, you got to give yourself a little bit of something. Like, you have to make it so that you're going to do it, I think. And so there has to be some, whether it's, just putting on an album and playing along with it, or whether it's, as drummers, that's a really fun thing to do and really easy thing to do, because you can kind of play along with anything. You don't need to know the tune, you just play. And you'll figure out the form eventually, you know what I mean? You can kind of get away with more as a drummer. So I can put on anything and just be like, yep, here we go. I don't know what this is, but I'll just play. Cool. So, maybe it's just doing that for 15 minutes in every practice, because that's your release and that's your, but yeah, I think it's really important, to figure out how you work best. Because I was posting some thoughts about practicing on social media, but it's all just stuff that works for me. And it's all just stuff that I figured out through, sucking at practicing for a while and being like, okay, like for me, writing stuff down is really important because I don't remember anything. So if I don't write it down, then the next day when I go to practice, I'll be like, oh, I don't remember what tempo I was doing this at. I'm like, I don't know. Was it 170, 140? I don't know. And then you're wasting your time trying to figure where if I just go exercise, blah, 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 quarter note equals 180. Then the next day when I sit down, it's just, oh, that's where I am. Go start and kind of launch into it. So I figured that out. I had lots of teachers telling me to have a practice log. I was like, I don't know. That sounds lame. I don't think I'm going to do that. And then eventually I was like, oh, you know what I should do? I should have a practice log. Really helpful. And then I did it and it was great. And I don't always use it. And sometimes I just use it for some, like right now I have a warm-up exercise and I write down every day what I do, but then I don't write down anything else because, I kind of know where I am. And because I'm practicing daily, I don't forget what I did last time because it was yesterday. So it's fine. Yeah. But then I've gone through times where I write down everything. And so I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways I've had for all this is like, just remain flexible. And, it doesn't like practice an hour every day, except for when you don't want to practice an hour, and then do 20 minutes that day, or don't practice that day, or do 2 hours that day. Like, I don't know. I feel like when you start getting rigid about things, then you start getting discouraged when you fail. And then when you get discouraged, then you don't want to do it anymore. And like practicing is hard. We need to pat ourselves on the back as much as at least I do. I need that like positive reinforcement constantly. So I kind of provide it for myself just by, doing these videos. And to be honest, when I started doing these transcription videos, I was never going to post them. I was going to put them up on YouTube, but I wasn't going to like share them. And just because I was like, I'm not doing this so that people can be like, wow, good job. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I want to do this. And this is a good way to hold myself accountable. Like if I'm going to learn a transcription, I'll get it so that it sounds okay. And then I move on. But if I have to do a video of it, well, now I need to make it perfect before I move on. Like I got to really learn it, because if I'm going to show it to the world, it can't be like 85%. It's got to be 100%. So that was the reason I did it. And it was just because I'm working with this great social media guru named Jenna Marie, who you know. And she was like, what are you doing? Why haven't you shared all of these? I was like, oh, I don't know. They're just kind of for me. And she's like, no, we're sharing all of these. Like, oh, okay, we'll share them all.
Nice.
But yeah, but it was just as a way to like maintain, you know, keep myself excited about stuff and to be able to check something off at the end. I mean, like, I did it. Yeah. Yes. Gold star for me, move on. You know, I feel like for me, it's so important for me to have those like, and it's hard to get that with practicing. It can be really hard to like, when are you done? When is it good enough? When like, never. Right? Ever. And so like the other thing I used to do a lot is I practice a lot with a timer. Just be like, I'm going to practice this for 5 minutes. I put on the timer. And then when 5 minutes were done, I knew I was done. I was like, I did it. Yay. Yeah. You know, whether it was, I mean, just because I needed an end. And so if I did it without the timer, then I maybe would feel like, oh, did I do enough? Is this a good time to, right? But with the timer, you're just like, well, the timer went off, so I'm done. Yep. End of story. Like I did it. I'll do it again tomorrow for the same time and I'll be done again. So anyways, that was, yeah.
Great.
We got back to practicing somehow.
No, it's great. It's I'm like super now, because I'm not a very good practicer either. And I've been thinking a lot about, you know, just like what kind of music do you want to make as an artist?
Right.
And that includes your practice time, right? Yeah. So, you know, life is short. So just do what you want to do. I mean, sometimes you have to, you know, you have to get up and do the jogging and you have to do, you know, all that.
You got to brush your teeth.
Your teeth.
But it's still, you're exactly right.
Yeah. So this is cool. Wow, thanks. This is like, now I feel like I need to go practice. Honestly, I was also the kid who like never practiced. But I was really fortunate that I had a piano teacher growing up who, like, even though I wasn't practicing what she wanted me to practice, like in my little assignment book, I was still playing stuff.
Right.
I was just always going off book, you know? And, but she would start the lesson off with 5 minutes of me just playing whatever I wanted to play.
Oh, that's so great.
Right?
Yeah.
So great. Like, I honestly probably would have quit way before if I hadn't had that kind of. So there you go. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same stuff, right? You have to have that feeling of playing the music you want to play.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because so my daughter's 4 and she's taking piano lessons as well. Although right now she's just taking lessons with us because my wife and I can both teach her. So rather than like trying to put her on a Zoom call at the age of 4, I mean, I'm sure she could do it, but we're like, we're not going to waste someone's time and money on our money. Like we just teach her. It's fine. But I found myself the other day, she was sitting at the piano and she was supposed to be practicing, and she was just like, she's playing scales because she hears Charlie play scales. So she's playing scales. And then she was like, she was trying to figure out, she has a really good ear, and she was trying to figure out the Harry Potter theme because Charlie's playing it. So she's just like learning. And I found myself about to tell her to stop. I'm like, come on, Penny, it's time to like practice your stuff. What are you doing? Just let her play. She's playing music and she's like really interested and she's exploring and she's learning new things. Like, just shut up and let her do it. Don't tell her to stop.
Right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
It's exactly that.
What is practicing anyway? After a while, as long as she's practicing like ear training, she's practicing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
All that stuff. It's connecting. Wow, that's so amazing. now your house has become an immersive house of music too.
It is.
It's so beautiful.
It is. There's a lot of music. It's fun.
Wow, so special. Wow, so cool. So, what is next for you? Like, what's coming up?
I wrote a whole bunch of music. I'm actually really excited about this next project. I wrote a whole bunch of music that's inspired by these books written by this Canadian author named Louise Penny. And she has this whole series of, they're detective novels, basically. and they're based in Quebec. And the main character is this Quebec detective named Armand Gamache. And they take place in a small village called Three Pines. And
cool.
And I actually discovered these books from Amy. She read them and fell in love with them and got me hooked. And now we're both like crazy in love with this series. And so I've written a whole bunch of music that's kind of based on the characters and the settings and everything. It's something that I've always wanted to do, is like some sort of project with like an overarching kind of an overarching theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to think of something that was Canadian, and had like because I'm very proud of being Canadian. And, but I always struggled with it, because I remember talking to, Oded a while ago about it, and he's like, why don't you like pick a bunch of group of 7 paintings, or like pick a poet that you really, and I was like, none of that, like the things that I like that are Canadian is like beer and hockey. That's all I got. And I'm not going to do an album about beer hockey, although I do want to do an album about beer and hockey. That's next. I already have some ideas. But then this came along, and I was reading these books, and I was just loving them, and I got about halfway through, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is like my muse. This is what I can do. Awesome. Yeah. So I've written all the music now. It's just a matter of being able. So we have a couple dates in September that we're going to go into the studio, and it's going to feature, it's music that I've written for I'm kind of thinking about all my different bands being involved. So like there's some stuff that'll be turboprop sized. There's a couple tunes that, one I've already played with Tetrahedron, and I love the way it sounded with that band. And then there was one that I've played with Toontown. I love the way it sounded with that band. There's stuff that I've written for like duos and solo. I have a solo alto saxophone piece that I wrote, and a solo piano piece that I wrote. Another one that's going to be Alex Samaras on singing, and me and Kelly on sax. I think that's it. Just like trio. Yeah. So and hopefully some strings too. I'm really intimidated about writing for strings, because I haven't done it like since arranging class. So I'm really like, it's totally on my to-do list, and I know which songs I'm going to do. And every time I sit down to do it, I'm just like, I don't even know where to start.
I know, right?
But that's my plan. So that's the next thing. And I'm so excited for it. I'm just so tired of waiting. Because it's been, it's been in my mind for probably 3 or 4 years now. And I've had the music written for, I don't know, 6 months to a year, but I just haven't heard most of it yet.
Yes. So. I hear you. That's
that feeling.
I do. Very exciting though. And it's going to be like, there's the anticipation is going to make it worth the wait,
Yeah.
That's very, very exciting. And I can't wait to hear it. Sounds amazing. And I love the storytelling aspect of it, and like a kind of like a song cycle.
Kind of. I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly how we're going to put it together yet, because there's kind of like sketches that I did on most of the main characters, and those are all mostly small. Like those are the duo and trio tunes, and then there's kind of the bigger ones. So I don't know. We'll see. But it's pretty exciting. I can't wait till I can like get together some musicians and hear this stuff being played.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while, but we're almost there. We're so close.
Yep. Hang in there. Final stretch.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Cool. Well, I believe that you may even be presenting a little sneak peek of one of these pieces.
Yeah. I'm going to play the solo piano piece that I wrote, and it's called Peter Morrow. It's for one of the characters, and he's a really interesting character because right from the beginning, the way that she presents him, there's always this like, is he a good guy or is he kind of a mean person? Like there's this real for like over the course of maybe 8 books, you're just always like, there's something off about this guy. I don't know. He seems really like he's a really decent dude, but then he's also like got this. So he's a really interesting character anyway. So I wrote this solo piano piece for him.